money plan for surely I'm participating. I know they hating, but I still give them motivation. That's real shit. It's easy being a real nigga. Pay my dues on my mama, I'ma die a real nigga. And I came from the bottom, then rose like Derek. Rest in peace, the pie, swear I feel your spirit. Still out here grinding, still out here shining. Like the original Lil Wayne, bro, we still out here squatting, yeah. Macking and mobbing, I'm stacking my...
What's up? What's up? What's poppin'? Hey, it's Nate Dogg 916 coming at you live from Sacramento. Hey, y'all know what it is, man. Go ahead and go down below and hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell, man, if you want to keep seeing this fire content and catch it when it come out and not later. And if it's something y'all want to talk about or somebody you think whose story will be beneficial to the cause, to the kennel, go in the comments below and let me know about it, man. If I don't get back at you, be patient. I will. Other than that, you can go over to Instagram and check me out at Nate.Dog916 or check out the super producer Sandman at Sandman2788. We will respond. We are busy due to the current climate. There's a lot of things that are backlogged, so don't worry about it. We'll get back at you. But today, today we got a banger for you, man. It's something I've been waiting to do for a little while, and I'm glad I could do it. So without further ado, man, what they call you, where you from, sir?
Well, sir, how you doing? Today they call me Professor Coffie. Back in the days in Dade County, it's called me Terry Black. So that's a whole nother story we'll get into. How we doing, brother?
Oh, I'm good, man. I appreciate you coming on, man. You said Dade County?
Yeah, down in Miami, down in Dade.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first,
well, I did a lot of my down in what we call the Tri-County area, Broward, Dade, and Palm Beach counties, where I did a lot of them. As I like to say, my heydays. When I talk to my sons today, it was in my heydays.
Right. Well, first of all, let me say I really appreciate you coming on, Professor, man. And I like to call you, like I said to your assistant, I call you Mr. Coffee because you earned it. As you can see from the wall behind the brother, he earned that respect to be called Sir, Mr., Professor, whichever title you choose. But what was it like coming up as a child for Mr. Coffee, man? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, a lot of times I share with people, I actually grew up in foster homes. I'm that dude who's a product of my daddy was a pimp and my mama was a prostitute. And it's just really sad. And I'm very open about that because I think that that's a reflection of a lot of the communities and individuals that I knew growing up in that manner. So at an early age, I was already in foster homes. So I jumped out with problems. I'm gonna be a little bit cordial right now.
Look, give it to us raw. We don't take no corners here on the Nate Dogg 916 channel.
So I jumped out with problems, bro. And I ended up in foster homes. Me and my two sisters by the time I was 6. And from there, that's when it kicked off. And I, really straight up, it was real rough and rugged for me. It was real rough and rugged being a foster child.
From the gate.
Being in a space where people knew I was in foster care. So a lot of times during my younger years, I got bullied. I got chased home a lot. I would have said the hand-me-downs. I'm saying all that because a lot of that is very indicative of the choices and decisions that I made later on in life. But in those years, and it was real rough and rugged. And actually during that time was, I think, around 9 years old when I learned that my biological mother had died. So a lot of times in foster care, and I not just stop there, but it really sets the segue when I think about the work that I do today and the trajectory of individuals, particularly Black and brown children from our communities. When they told me that my mama died, I knew then that my world had changed. It wasn't in foster care, you kind of have this idea, I like to tell people Bill Cosby and Claire Huxtable was my parents because I really lost myself in the fantasy world of having a better life than what I had at the time. And I always dreamed that one day that all the shit would, go back to normal. And, I would go back home, my mama would be there, and my dad, and we'll be the happy family and all that good Gucci shit. But that ain't what happened. I was around 9 years old when they called me and told me that my mama died. Asked me, did I go to a funeral, and they told me about that, like they was talking about burying some dead dog in the backyard. Like, fuck out of here. So
Right.
that began a lot of the anger. That began a lot of the violence. That began a lot of, even at a young age, when I initially went to juvie, was for busting a motherfucker upside the head because a nigga decided he thought he was gonna touch me. And you know, at that time, during that era of life, I wasn't gonna let a motherfucker think I was a whatever, and you know, he wasn't saying anything about it. So by the time I woke,
you mean touch you in that kind of way? A person trying to touch you the wrong kind of way. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
So when they came in, when I busted the cat inside the head with the bottle, they took me to juvie. But the thing about it, nobody never asked me what happened, and not that I even would have told them.
Right.
But by the time, you know, I got there and got back, somehow I had been, you know, I got labeled this bad child with these disorders and with this and with all that. So I looked deeper into a lot of the things that transpire with juveniles and children today when we see what we call maladaptive behavior, because there's a lot of things behind that plays in that. So that's how it was, man. It was rough and rugged coming up, man.
Okay, so obviously, you know what I mean, you defended yourself, you know what I mean, righteously, at a young age for your first juvenile stint. But then I'm sure after the child care, I'm sure eventually the foster care led you out into them streets in Dade County.
Yeah. Well, actually, I grew up in Palm Beach County. I ran the streets. You know, you move around once you get older. And I like to tell people a lot of times when it's like a lot of times it's time to leave home, because for me, and I have to be honest with you, that was the initial space where that began, because you know, from 10 all the way up to 17, I was adopted, but I had a lot of internal shit that was going on, a lot of things that I couldn't come to terms with, because you can't expect the child to come to terms with adult situations. So we sometimes put that on. So the bullying kept going on, and it was one day the bullying stopped because I figured, you know, I got tired of running. I didn't fight the way I fought. You know, a lot of people, you know, they look at the things I did in my life, and I share this with them. I didn't fight because I was a bad child. I didn't fight because I was a thug. I didn't fight. No, I fought because I had to.
Right. You fought to defend yourself.
Yeah, it was all about it really wasn't that. If I could have had a normal life, just kids going to school, I would have been fine with that. But that wasn't the makeup. So from that, you know, birthed a whole nother thing, because of the recognition I began to receive wasn't about the foster care no more. It started being more about I was a bad child, that I had some good hands at the time that I could, and that's where that came. So it didn't have to be good attention to me, because at least I was getting some fucking attention. And that's where that began at, brother. And by the time, and I grew up like that, and by the time I was 20, I was in the penitentiary for the first time.
Okay, you don't have to get too far into the crime of what led you to the penitentiary for the first time, but I mean, only what you would like to share. And if you had any crimies, please, not that I have to tell you this, but don't mention their names. What led to you first going to prison the first time?
Trying to get it how I live. I left home when I was 17. And by the time I moved to another spot, I keep it like that, with a cousin, and they the one who introduced me to the game. By the time I was 20, I was in my I was sentenced to my first bid for the sales of narcotics.
Okay, so we was in the dope game, not the jack game. Like, okay, because you know there's different kinds of games. This dope game is jack game.
But all that came with it along line. But the first step was my was the possession with intent to distribute. That was the first one.
Okay. Possession with intent to distribute. So what was it like for a 20-year-old Mr. Coffie stepping into prison for the first time? Was this in Dade County? Did you have to go to Dade County jail?
This was in Palm Beach County.
Palm Beach County. Okay. All right.
I think that my first time in prison, it was almost like the only thing I knew about prison is the shit I had seen on TV. You remember the movie Penitentiary with, I can't remember, but it was an old school movie. I think it was called Penitentiary. It And that's what I knew about the chain gang. You know, it was going to be these bars and niggas try to take your ass. And, you know, me and the other niggas, because we didn't understand mass incarceration. We didn't understand what was going on at that time. We just knew that niggas were getting locked up, like, for real.
Right. For a long time.
Yeah. So when I initially went, that was what's on our mind. And all us, you know, before going to the chain gang, we all in county jail, and we sitting around, and you know, every nigga doing like me and you doing right now, but every nigga ain't never been in prison. So nigga, we scared, but nigga ain't finna say they scared. But
no, of course, absolutely.
That we said that for one nigga, you know, it's kind of like they used to call us bumblebees, because we kind of got to the point, if you fuck with one of us, you're gonna fuck with all of us. And that was more of us kind of still being in that place of protecting each other, because in Florida, when you go to the penitentiary, everything is really broke down by what city you from. Okay. So you find it Palm Beach County, Dade County, Duval, you know, we broke down like that based upon the city you're from. And that's how it was ran. But by the time, you know,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I don't really know a lot about Florida, but is Palm Beach like a regular, like what kind of environment, what kind of part of that city is that? Is that like a middle class, lower class, upper class?
That's West Palm Beach on Cameron Ave. That's
oh, it's it's the hood.
Okay. Yeah, so Palm Beach, Dade, everything is like all around the world. You got, you know, when we hear about, like I hear about Sacramento, we see all the good shit, but then, like, you know, there's another side of Sacramento that we never see on TV.
You ain't gonna see all that. They're not gonna show. They just gonna show the buildings and the shiny stuff.
Yeah.
Just like when you see Florida, they just gonna show the pretty beaches and the palm trees. They're not gonna show they're not gonna show Liberty City. They're not showing Liberty City and all that over there. Yeah,
they ain't show you that shit. So it's the same thing, man.
Okay. All right. Good to know.
And it growing up, and coming up in that what it was like, man, and that kind of began what I like to say the trajectory of what would last for over 19 years of my life, in and out the penitentiary cells. The robberies came in, the survival, the gunplay, all that shit came in during that time.
So while incarcerated in federal, so this is Florida Department of Corrections where you're obviously incarcerated. So do they have levels there? Like, does it go by levels, the penitentiaries they have?
Level 1, 2, level 3, level 4, and based upon your crime, they send you to where we got to call the max prison, which usually Florida state prison. That's the main what you have, maximum security, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of that's based on the level of crime.
Oh, okay. So it's not based on discipline. It's based on crime.
Yeah, based on crime.
Because here it's based on crime, but then it's based on discipline as well. So like if I'm in the level 2 or level 3, which I've never been in, but if I was and I got into fights and I got into riots and I got into trouble, I go up levels. Like they send me to a higher level because we can't contain you here. You need more security. You know
now that only would happen if they transfer you, because like, you know, we got what we called it. We had the box, I think here in New York where I relocated to, they call it the SHU. Unit. And usually you'll just go to the box down our way. And if that pattern continues and you become too disruptive to the system or within the you know, the penitentiary, then you'll probably get transferred to a
program failure.
Right.
So where they had you camped, locked up, was it like a camp situation, cell living, dorm living, like?
Initially, it was the camp, because remember, that's what they were doing during that period of time. Most people, when we look at the criminal justice system, when we start thinking about prison, the prison industrial, the prison system being monetized, this is where we had various, contracts with private prison institutes. So they were just popping up all over the fucking place. Right. So these were the various camps that we send you to, and based upon your crime, et cetera, that's where you can get. So I was considered minimum, because a lot of it was just in there just because it was nonviolent, drugs was in place.
Right.
So that was it. So it was really a perpetuation that I like to share in a lot of my speakings today, and a lot of the work that I do. Increment when we start seeing the birth of the prison industrial complex, utilizing prison labor in the same manner that we looked at when we think of convict leasing. That was the birth of it. It was right at the beginning of it, and we still didn't have these words that we're articulating now.
Right.
When we think of mass incarceration, when we think of the prison industrial complex, when we think of all that shit going on, those words didn't exist at that time because it was just a reactionary response, a knee-jerk response from society to deal with young black men across the country. And it wasn't so much about the criminality, because criminality was happening in every spectrum of the country, at every level, from the lower level, middle class, upper class, when we think about the drug epidemic. But the criminal epidemic happened in black and brown communities.
Right,
and this was around the time when Bill Clinton passed the 96 crime bill, and when Hillary Rodham Clinton decided to label us super predators. That stigma and that language began to follow us.